Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the City of Delray Beach's regular commission meeting, scheduled for Tuesday, December 5th, at 2023 at 5 p.m. Please call the roll.
Hold on, sorry.
You forgot my name?
I'm sorry. Had to get on the right screen.
I can just answer.
Mr. Frankel,
Present.
Mr. Long,
Present.
Mr. Boylston,
Present.
Ms. Burns.
Here.
Mayor Petrolia.
Here, if we could please stand for the pledge. Okay, agenda approval, any additions, deletions, substitutions? Anything? No? Everything's good? Entertain a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Boylston.
Yes.
Ms. Burns.
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia.
Yes.
Mr. Frankel.
Yes.
All right, we are at the presentations, which are none, and comments and inquiries. Mr. Moore.
I yield at this time. Thank you.
All right, very good. So to the public, it's now time for the public to make a comment for anyone wishing to speak on any topic or agenda item that is not a quasi-judicial or a public hearing item. The public will have the opportunity to speak on those quasi-judicial items later and public hearing items later in the meeting. For comment, please sign in your name, state it when you come up to the podium, and give us your address as well for the record. Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Greetings, Marshall Bennett, 323 Northwest 2nd Avenue, beautiful city, Delray Beach. I have 3 things to say. First, Soil and Soul is having its annual winter solstice, December 19th at 6 p.m. at 342 Northwest Swinton Avenue, which is Quaison United Methodist Church, in the fenced area in the back at Cocoa Plum Nature School. We would love for you to join us. We have free childcare, we practice mindfulness, and we have Sky High Fitness leading us in mindful movement, line dancing, and Zumba. We find that practicing mindfulness with Soil and Soul, it increases positive thoughts by 50%, it increases time in nature by 30%, and it decreases financial stress by negative 20% by offering employment. As a resident, with so much tax dollars going towards independent contractors to work in certain capacities in this city, instead of paying that money out of the city, I think you should pay the workers that money so they can continue to live in this city. Like the medians, those jobs are terrible. I think the employees here will do a better job. Lastly, all my heroes have an FBI profile. They have been jailed and have records. I have some pictures. John Lewis, James Bevel, Bayard Rustin, Rosa Parks, Diane Nash, and Fannie Lou Hamer. It's time to remove the barrier for color folk, and it's time to raise a banner for all of us. It's enough of suffering here in the beautiful city of Delray Beach. And my last thing is, this chief over here should be the next police chief, and if he is appointed, he should have a lifetime contract. I believe he would be the best chief this city will ever have. And I complete my statement.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Seth Mitchell, 250 Congress Park Drive, Delray Beach. Mayor Petrolia, Vice Mayor Boylston, Deputy Vice Mayor Long, Commissioners Burns and Frankel. I come to you today as an associate life member of the Military Order of the Purple Heart, and associate life member due to my blood lineage to a Purple Heart recipient, namely my cherished grandfather, Henry, who landed at Omaha Beach on the early morning of Operation Overlord's D-Day activities, Tuesday the 6th of June, 1944, and was then wounded on the battlefield in northern France a few days later. Including Henry, I count 10 close family relatives who served the United States military, including one of Henry's brothers who survived the attack at Pearl Harbor on the 7th of December, 1941. Honoring our United States military service people and veterans is a solemn endeavor near and dear to my heart as a resident of our beloved Delray Beach. I now bring to you for your consideration a draft proclamation which, when duly executed by the mayor, will formally recognize the city of Delray Beach as a Purple Heart City. Currently, there are 92 cities in the great state of Florida which are so recognized, including our neighbor, Boca Raton. Once the proclamation is signed by Mayor Petrolia, I would transmit it to the order, at which time Delray would be formally recognized as a Purple Heart City. Then it's up to Delray Beach to implement any initiatives designed to support the proclamation, such as a formal public ceremony and celebration where the proclamation is read, providing Purple Heart recipients with tax relief, and reduced or eliminated fees at public facilities and public events. The city can encourage local business owners to provide discounts to Purple Heart recipients, whether they are residents or visitors to our amazing city. And finally, official Purple Heart City signage can be ordered and displayed prominently around the city as well. Finally, the 7th of August each year would be recognized formally as National Purple Heart Day here in the city of Delray Beach, like it is across the state of Florida and in 92 other cities across the state. I have here copies of the draft proclamation, which I'd like to submit,
Give to the clerk.
and respectfully request that the commission approve our application for the proclamation to be signed as soon as practicable, so Delray Beach can then become a Purple Heart City. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Seeing no one, public comment is closed. Thank you. Let me go ahead and get this out. Yep. Can we just send this one down to the legal? All right, we are now at the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second. Oops, sorry.
Okay, motion and second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
All right, moving on to regular agenda, we have 7A, which is a quasi-judicial hearing. I'm going to read the quasi-judicial rules into the record as everybody assembles, or anybody who's going to be talking to 7A, resolution number 237-23. This hearing shall be conducted in accordance with quasi-judicial rules. The applicant and the city will be allowed 15 minutes each to present their case. The public shall be allowed to speak for 3 minutes each, or a maximum of 6 minutes if the person represents an organization or a group of people who are present but agree not to speak. The city commission and the staff and the applicant will be allowed to cross-examine a witness. The city and the applicant will be allowed to offer rebuttal testimony. The decision to approve or deny an application or appeal may not legally be made upon personal views as to whether a project is a good project or not, nor may a decision be based on the numbers of citizens who support or oppose a particular project. The laws require that all decisions must be made on the basis of whether the project meets the requirements of law, the comprehensive plan, and the land development regulations. At this point in time, if there's anybody that's going to be speaking to resolution number 237-23, please stand and we'll swear you in. You're the only one? Okay. No applicant? Oh. Oh, okay. Anybody who's going to be speaking,
If you're gonna
just
say
a
you don't
swearing
speak
in.
yet, but you have to be sworn in.
Okay.
Raise your right hand. There you go.
By the authority vested in me as a notary of the state of Florida, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You can sit down and we'll call you when we're ready. At this point in time, what we're going to do is ask for any ex parte communication by the city commission, starting with the vice mayor.
Yes, I spoke with the applicant.
Okay. And this is 420 South Military Trail, in case anybody's wondering which one we're talking about. Commissioner? This is the pet grooming. It's a pet grooming. Or
No,
nothing?
Nothing unless it's on the
And
server.
I would have to tell you, unless it's on the server, I have not.
None.
None for me on that.
All right, very good. And At this point, we're going to have the staff go ahead and enter the project file into the record.
Good evening, Anthea Geniotis from Development Services, and I'd like to enter file 2023-274 into the record. And
Okay.
the applicant is here with a brief
All
presentation
right,
of the
so if you have a
request.
presentation, now would be the time to step up to the podium and give us your presentation.
All right. Hi, I'm Ryan. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the board. All right. We are Rough to Fluff Pet Salon. My name's Ryan. I'm the Chief Operations Officer. And this is an idea born from Natalia Iensi. She's been a member of the Delray Beach community for 20 years. She has been a groomer for over 7 years, and she's completed over 20,000 grooms across the cities of Delray, Boca, and Lake Worth. She has advanced knowledge of grooming business operations, having worked in 4 different local high-demand grooming businesses. She has over 400 recurring loyal pet-owning clients. She has certifications to be a pet groomer, which in Florida you are not required to have, but she does have them. And she's disabled. That's why I'm presenting today. She's hearing impaired. And through her impairment, she was able to realize a unique passion, compassion, bond with the animals that could not be found anywhere else, essentially. So as far as
Before and after.
just some quick stats, 95% of U.S. pet owners report that they consider their pets to be actual family members versus just an animal. In 2020, salon grooming services segment accounted for 78% of all U.S. pet grooming market, which is the dominant share. And some of the major growth reasons for this industry to be burgeoning as it is increasing pet adoptions, more rescue organizations, emotional support animal trends are increasing, and overall there's a higher demand for pet well-being, hygiene, appearance. So our stance on this as Rough to Fluff Pet Salon is we're going to be premium quality, family owned, family backed, family operated, one-on-one, cageless, fully bilingual English-Spanish staff. Safety, cleanliness, professionalism, attention to detail are top priorities at our salon. Scheduled drop-off and pickup grooming only. No pet taxi. That means delivering the animals to their owners. No boarding, no daycare, no veterinary medicine will be practiced. And we have signed a 5-year lease with indefinite renewals in a generational shopping plaza. These are our hours. They will intend to be open, closed Sundays for church. This speaks a little bit more to the particularities of demographics in the greater area surrounding our location. So in the U.S., 60% of households with an annual income above $80,000 have pets, and 25% of those are either a dog or a cat. In Palm Beach County, within a 5-mile radius of Atlantic and Military, where our location is, it's 2x that. So most of Natalia's clients, of the 400 plus repeat, loyal, recurring clients that she has, have either 2 or 3 dogs and or cats. Other salons are booked 1 to 2 months out. Clients have expressed they are frustrated with having to drive all the way downtown, so we'll be a immediate convenience to the local clientele that Natalia has accumulated. So it meets the demand for premium quality in the community. It provides an additional option from some of the overbooked and understaffed stores. It relieves local residents the burden of having to drive downtown. And she has all the licensing, certification, insurance, reputation, followers, and existing customer base. This speaks to her following online. Let me just zoom past here. This covers our pricing model, and it will vary pretty drastically based on the size of the animal, the breed, the age, the condition, the temperament. So we have some standard packages we will be offering. These are the a la carte offerings if somebody would like to just get a side service without a full grooming or deluxe grooming package. And we've priced this at premium quality pricing compared to what a lot of the other salons are currently priced at. We do include discounts that recognize our community. So senior citizens are recognized, active duty and veteran military personnel are recognized, registered emotional support animals, enrolled students, and certified rescue pets. So any client that can provide documentation of such, we will recognize them with the appropriate discount. And then finally, we're really big on philanthropy. We met with All for One Pet Rescue at the Pooches and Presents in the Park just last month, and they really loved the idea of our willingness to offer free grooms to their rescue dogs so that they could find homes faster and look more presentable to be adopted. So here's some of their current partners, and we would be really excited to see our name on that list as far as giving back to the community in Delray Beach. We've not seen any other grooming salons offer this, so we thought that would be very creative. That's our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ryan. To the staff?
Okay, so while IT does the switch out, there's some regulatory requirements around this use that I'll go over for the record. I did want to note at the beginning of this that the agenda was posted prior to the planning board hearing, and the applicant did receive a 6-0 recommendation of approval from the board. So, so we'll go over the conditional use requirements in the resolution. So the property is located at 14420 South Military Trail. The actual commercial space is 850 square feet, so it is a small business. The land use and the zoning are both general commercial, and the pet salon is considered pet grooming. So that's the subject site right there. And it's in an established plaza. And again, we'll go over really quickly what the requirements are. The new regulations, or relatively new regulations we adopted, sought to really distinguish the uses that are having a daycare component, an outdoor use area, boarding, things like that. That is not proposed as part of this use. It is purely pet grooming. It would be open, again, Monday through Saturday. They have a floor layout showing how they would be accommodating their pet customers and the waiting room. And ultimately, your determination today is to make a finding that the conditional use will not have a detrimental effect upon the stability of the neighborhood in which it's located, or hinder any development or redevelopment of nearby properties. That is the finding before you today. So just quickly, GC zoning is consistent with GC land use, so there's no issue there. Water, sewer is well established at the property, and the concurrency requirements are all met. There is not, according to the TPS letter from Palm Beach County, there are no additional trips as estimated that would occur, because this business goes into the established plaza compared to the other tenants that were there before. And we have lots of comprehensive plan policies that are outlined in the background of the staff report that talk about promoting job creation, business ownership opportunities, and other things within the city like that. Again, because domestic animals, as much as we all love them, can sometimes have an adverse impact surrounding them. The LDR does have requirements related to drop-off and pickup hours, whether or not there's overnight boarding, how they are enclosing the space so that the neighbors aren't going to hear barking, things like that. And the application before you has met all of the applicable requirements from the LDRs, including the parking. The parking is assessed and is included within the plaza, things like that. There's no veterinary services, and again, there is no overnight boarding that's anticipated. And Planning and Zoning Board reviewed it on November 27th and recommended approval 6-0. So the applicant's here if you have any questions related to how they run their business. The board asked a couple of questions related to whether there'd be outside use and how they would handle the pets relieving themselves in between pickup and drop off, and we're satisfied with the responses. So.
Very good. Okay, so at this point in time, what we're going to do is open it up to the public. If there's anybody in the public that would like to speak to Resolution 237-23, now would be the time to step forward. Seeing no one, public comment is closed. We're going to go back to the applicant and to the staff. If there's any cross-examination or rebuttal testimony, that would be the time to speak up.
Yeah, one thing I did want to clarify, we don't have a waiting room per se. It's scheduled drop-off and pickup only.
Okay.
So if somebody is a walk-in, that's fine. We would love to take you, but you'll have to book on our website, and then we will take you at the allotted time.
Gotcha.
Other than that, I think last meeting we talked about if there's a pet mess, we'll just clean it up. No pets are going to be walked outside. We're not taking them. So if there's a mess, we have brand new tile flooring that was installed. So it's really easy to clean up anything off of that. So,
very good. Thank you. Okay, so to the commission. Any questions? Concerns?
Sorry, you did open it up, right?
Yep.
Public comment. Great, thank you.
All right, so I think I don't have any issues, and I would have to tell you that I love your name. I think it's adorable.
Natalia chose it.
And the before and after is perfect. So because my dog looks a lot like that before and then after. Not that doesn't look like the dog, but I get it. So you guys are doing a great job as far as getting it out there, what you guys are doing, and you have my support.
We're grateful for that.
Rough to
Thank you.
fluff. Rough to fluff.
Rough to fluff.
yeah.
His name's Ryan, so I thought you were
There
also
you go.
accommodating
No.
his name, Ryan. Great name, but rough to fluff's better. So, motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Congratulations and good luck.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to Resolution 242-23. And this has to do with the Black History Parade. Mr. Orris.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Jeff Orris, Assistant City Manager. This item before you tonight is approval of an impact event. That impact event being the Black History Month parade and celebration. The parade kicks it in as an impact event under our special event policy and therefore requires commission approval. The organizers of the event have worked with staff to come up with a parade route that we believe meets the requirements that you all had asked for previously, that it doesn't lock up the entire neighborhood and force people to go all the way around. If you look in the backup information, we did have a map in there that was really not adequate. I apologize for that. We had a DSMG meeting at your request just at the end of last week to review this again. So we did have handed out to you the final map that was hammered out for the parade route. It's a little difficult to read, but you'll see that their parade route would start at the community center, travel down Northwest 1st to West Atlantic, then travel over to Northwest 10th, where the parade would technically terminate. Participants in the parade would be, except for oversized floats, would be redirected up Northwest 10th, at which point we would have a rolling closure, which means there won't be barricades there. It will no longer be the parade, but it would be the point of dispersal. As the remainder of the event takes place at Pompey Park, we would expect a lot of those people to continue on to Pompey Park, and we would require police at Northwest 1st and 2nd along the way to protect pedestrians as well as continue the flow of traffic. This has now been designed so that you can get across the neighborhood, particularly along 11th and 12th, to get from one side to the other, from Lake Ida down to Atlantic, as well as it shows some of the detours we would have signage out there to get people around the neighborhood during that time. Should not cause the same issues you saw last week, provided that everybody follows the detours appropriately. Again, this went through CTEC. It was they approved it to move on. It went through the DSMG. They also unanimously approved it with a recommendation for approval.
Okay. Very good.
And
That's
Madam
it.
Mayor, if I may, the organizers of the event do have a presentation they'd like to give.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Do I have to do like the name and the address?
Yes, give us your
Okay.
name and address.
All right, so Alasia Banks, my address is 7182 Hyatt Avenue, that's Lantana, Florida, 33462. Okay, you can keep talking. All right. Yes. So I stand as the secretary of this legacy organization. I just wanted to give it. I stand as the secretary of this legacy organization, Roots Cultural Festival Incorporated. We would just like to share a brief video of our organization. This video includes voices of the past, including but not limited to past mayors, commissioners, and pillars of the community, and their support and hopes that we continue this event. We are passionate about this Black History Parade and celebration and would like to continue this legacy community event.
Right, but it wouldn't play from there. So we have to minimize it. Oh, sorry. It was down here at the bottom. See right here, Chrome? It's all ready to go. Sorry about that. Something
People own it.
happened.
Roots belongs to the community. It belongs to the people, and they know it's theirs.
The Roots Cultural Festival burst onto the scene in 1978, the irrepressible desire of a community which gave it life. The festival features a parade down West Atlantic Avenue, showcasing the colorful sights and sounds of the African diaspora. The atmosphere is electrifying, and the streets are packed with people from all over the U.S.
One of the things we're trying to do in our city is to make sure we embrace all cultures and recognize the diversity of the city and to keep the African American history alive.
Well, I think it's a tremendous success, just the fact that you've got a month of activities, widely varying nature.
Looks like a kid.
Anyone can participate in.
Roots Cultural Festival is one of the better and perhaps the most gripping episode that has occurred in Derry.
like to see it grow to become a regional attraction and get some additional grant monies in so we can do even more in the future. I think it's wonderful.
Thank you.
Very good. Is that it? Thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right. Okay, so to the commission?
And they know it's there.
For the rolling closure, which I think is a good solution to some of the issues we saw last year, about how long do you think that rolling closure will last? Approximately. I mean, it's hard. I guess it's the length of the parade, huh?
Exactly, and we don't know that yet. They're still trying to get participants and sponsors.
Okay, well, I think if it's similar to, last year, hopefully it's more. But I don't think that would be that long, so.
And the intent of the rolling closure is to minimize the disturbances in the area.
Right.
I think that video's still on, so we can close it out.
Yeah, I think you've addressed the one concern that we had, and I'll be in favor.
It's funny. I don't know that it would be appropriate, but I know it's going to be kind of a tough. That area of Atlantic is always tough because it's coming off of 95, and we're going to basically make it very difficult for the traffic that does come off of 95 to get around. But I don't have a problem with it, especially when you're talking about that rolling closure. However, I was wondering, because of the fact that it's so divided also there, is it appropriate to do one side or another, or is it you don't want to have that?
There's a safety issue if we leave it open.
That's what I figured. Okay. Then
That was discussed.
I'm fine. Thank you. Anyone else?
Listen, after I saw the video, I was in favor of it. Miss Odom, where were you? I didn't see it. It's the first thing I ever seen.
She wasn't born yet.
No questions for me. I'm in favor.
Okay, very good. So, all right.
Motion to approve.
There you go.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Now we just need to get it back to that point. Okay, we need to make it so that it's the parade that obviously we were seeing in the past. I hope that we can make it that exciting and great and fun and become a new legacy parade for our city. So, good luck. All right, moving on to 7C, Resolution 243-23. This is the Concourse D'Elegance, and this is also Jeff Orris. You're going to be, Mr. Orris? Yep.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Presenting.
This is simply, again, before you as an impact event, because the organizer in their original application indicated they're anticipating about 5,000 participants in a single day. Our special event policy indicates anything over 3,500 in a single day is classified as an impact event.
This event shouldn't be substantially different from last year's event. It's merely because we have this policy in place and we're anticipating more than 3,500 people that it comes before you.
Very good. And we already determined, I think, because that was a question that we had asked last time, that they were coming before you, they're only getting what they should be getting. It's just that 50% of the nonprofit, correct? Or whatever their amount is.
Right now, they're responsible for full cost.
Okay.
They do have requests that will be coming to you
Yeah,
for
sure.
sponsorship, but you'll deal with it at that
You got
time.
it. Okay, very good. Any other questions? No. Seeing none, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Frankel? Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
And yes. Okay, 7D, we're going to be considering a request to postpone a hearing.
On next week's agenda, the December 12th agenda, Michael Weiner has an appeal of an administrative decision. Staff does not have an objection to this request, but the LDRs require us to bring it to you the meeting before that it's currently scheduled. If you have any questions, Mr. Weiner's here. He's simply requesting the January 4th commission meeting.
Got it.
Yep, I don't have a problem. Anybody?
Nope.
No?
Motion
Entertain
to
a
approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr.
Right, moving on to public hearings. I believe that we have 5 that, which one is that?
It is, I believe it's 8C.
The third, any of the
The
information
8C.
on the 51. All right, so when you guys come up to speak, just make sure you let us know you were sworn in, okay? So we'll start Atlantic Avenue, and so is there any ex parte communication? We'll start at this end. Deputy Vice Mayor?
None for me.
Okay. Commissioner?
I think this is Mr. Schiller's.
Spoke to Mr. Schiller.
All right.
Spoke with Mr. Schiller.
And I did not, but if there's anything, it would be on the server for May. So go
Ready?
ahead.
Ordinance 36-23, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, annexing into the City of Delray Beach a parcel of land measuring approximately 4.87 acres located at 5185 Atlantic Avenue, as more particularly described herein, situated contiguous to the existing municipal limits of the City of Delray Beach, providing for inclusion of the parcel into and redefinition of the city boundaries pursuant to subsection 171.044, subsection 2 Florida statutes, providing for conformance with all voluntary annexation procedures as set forth in section 171.044 Florida statutes, providing for filing with Palm Beach County and the Department of State, providing a conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing an effective date and for other purposes. Ordinance number 37-23, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, adopting a small-scale land use map amendment, redesignating a parcel of land measuring approximately 4.87 acres located at 5185 Atlantic Avenue, as more particularly described herein, from Palm Beach County Residential High to City of Delray Beach Medium Density Residential, pursuant to the provisions of the Community Planning Act, Florida Statutes, Section 163.3187, providing a conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. Ordinance number 38-23, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, rezoning a parcel of land measuring approximately 4.87 acres located at 5185 Atlantic Avenue, as more particularly described herein, from Palm Beach County Agriculture Residential to City of Delray Beach Medium Density Residential, amending the City of Delray Beach zoning map July 6, 2021, providing a conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. Ordinance number 39-23, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 4 zoning regulations of the Land Development and Regulations of the City of Delray Beach Code of Ordinances by amending Article 4.4, Base Zoning District, Section 4.4.6, Medium Density Residential RM District, Subsection F, Development Standards, Subsection G, Supplemental District Regulations, and subsection H, special regulations to provide regulations for the Flow Delray Overlay District, amending Article 4.5, Overlay and Environmental Management Districts by enacting a new Section 4.5.22, the Flow Delray Overlay District, amending Article 4.7, Family Workforce Housing, subsections 4.7, Definitions, 4.7.2, Applicability, subsection B, Workforce Housing Incentive Areas, to allow for applicability of workforce housing incentives in the Flow Delray Overlay District, and amending 4.7.4 density bonus areas to outline requirements for increased density for the Flow Delray Overlay District, providing a conflicts clause, providing a severability clause, authority to codify, and providing an effective date.
All right, very good. Anthea, if you'd like to enter the project file into the record.
So I'll go ahead and enter all of the interrelated files into the record, even though the rezoning file is the quasi one. So it's 2023-170 for the annexation, 2023-171 for the land use map amendment, 2023-169 for the privately initiated rezoning, and 2023-172 2022-172 for an accompanying land development regulation text amendment.
Very good. All right, so the applicant, you'd like to go ahead and do your presentation?
Excellent. Thank you so much, Madam Mayor, honorable City Commission members. My name is Neil Schiller with the law firm of Government Law Group, located at 137 Northwest First Avenue, right across from City Hall here in Delray Beach. I'm here tonight to represent the Flow Delray, along with my colleagues Ken Tuma and Sandy Megru from Urban Design Kildare Studios, as well as our traffic experts. And I want to introduce my clients, Pierre and Richard Rochemont, who seem to have made it just in time for the presentation. So with that, I will start. You can see the vicinity, the location. It is on the corner of Military and West Atlantic, tucked into the northwest corner of that site, the marketplace of Delray. It has been undeveloped, as you can see from the green space. Totaling about 4.87 acres. You can see the land use and zoning for Palm Beach County to the west with High Point West. To the west of that, the Delray Flea Market, which was actually just approved for, I believe, a car wash and a public storage facility, also in the county. And then everything to the east is within the city of Delray Beach. So our requests tonight are four. An annexation from the county into the city, a land use map amendment a land use map amendment. So when the property comes in, it's assigned a land use category as well as a rezoning, and then a land development regulation text amendment to get up to 24 dwelling units to the acre. I wanted to talk a little bit briefly about the Planning and Zoning Board, which voted 6-0 and recommended approval of the following requests that I just explained. And they also included, and we agreed to the following, and including an equal mix of workforce housing units in the low and moderate income categories, and adding a 1-bedroom workforce housing unit that wasn't initially proposed. Again, this is an annexation. The annexation is for the area outlined in red. That is that area which you can see is in your annexation plan from your comprehensive plan, the All-Rays Delray Comprehensive Plan. With that, I want to bring up Ken Tuma, who thought he was going to get out of making this presentation tonight. But with that, I'm going to bring up Ken Tuma to finish up with the annexation, move to the land use zoning and the text amendment.
Thank you, and this will be very short. So on the screen in front of you, my name is Ken Tuma, by the way. I've been sworn in. I'm with Urban Design Studio. On the screen in front of you identifies the boundary, the municipal boundaries of the city of Delray Beach. The site is contiguous with the city, so therefore it is applicable to be in annexation, and as Mr. Schiller indicated, it is on your future annexation map on the earlier map that he showed. So the request in front of you this evening is to modify the land use, the current land use, if you agree to annex the subject property. The current land use is underlying 8 dwelling units an acre in unincorporated Palm Beach County as an HR8. Our request is to modify that land use and change it to the city of Delray Beach medium density. In regards to rezoning, the current zoning, as Neil indicated, is agriculture. Our request is to convert that into Delray Beach medium density, which of course allows up to 12 dwelling units per acre. So there are standards. The standards start with the statement of valid reasons. So there are 3 reasons allowed within the city to allow for a change of zoning. Obviously, number 2 is the most appropriate because we're annexing a piece of property into the city or requesting annexation into the city, and there is no formal zoning with that. So we're requesting that the voluntary annexation into the city's jurisdictional boundary is consistent with the changed circumstance. Also, number 3 is applicable. There are existing zoning standards on top of that. Those zoning standards are identified on the screen in front of you. A, which is the one that identifies the most restrictive residential district that is most applicable. Residential medium density is really the most applicable zoning district here. Immediately to the east, you have your four corners overlay that allows 30 dwelling units per acre on the Delray shopping center. Immediately to the west is Palm Beach County that allows 8 dwelling units an acre. So this creates a transitional zoning district. the medium density residential, we are requesting a text amendment to increase or to allow for the flow of Delray district. So that would be adding a text amendment to the city to allow for a change to add the flow Delray overlay district. On the screen in front of you is your code, the code amendments. The first set is really what is the name of the overlay. The overlay is going to be called the flow Delray overlay. The next set of slides is actually more location criteria, where it's located. It's located on this 4.87 acre parcel of land. And then this, of course, is also location criteria. The next slide, though, this is really kind of the request. The request is to do a change on the site to allow for an overlay. The overlay would allow the site to go to 24 dwelling units an acre. In exchange for that 24 dwelling units an acre, the developer is going to commit to 20% workforce housing of those units. So that 20% workforce housing then is broken up into different categories. Your planning and zoning board made a suggestion, and we agreed to that suggestion, which is split the workforce housing units up. Those workforce housing units will be between your low income and your moderate income, equally distributed among those two categories. Also, we are going to be providing efficiency units within the proposed project. Those efficiency units, we would be allowed to have up to 22% of the overall units in the building to be workforce housing. And then also there will be a mix of 1 and 2 bedroom units. Those 1 and 2 bedroom units for the balance of the workforce housing would be split equally among them. And then your planning board also suggested that we have 1 3-bedroom unit be allocated towards a workforce housing. So that's the breakup and the exchange. So the request is to allow it to go to 24 dwelling units an acre as an overlay, which potentially would allow 116 units. And as an exchange for that overlay, to allow for 20% of the units will be workforce housing. That's the overlay. Your staff will go through the criteria very specifically, but we have met all the goals, objectives, and policies. Identified on the screen are the specific policies and objectives within your comprehensive plan. And then this slide shows kind of the areas of increased density within the city, particularly identifying our site, identified on the top left-hand side of the screen is the red area, and that shows where we're potentially allowing for additional density on this annex site in exchange for workforce housing, and that's what's indicated on this slide. The next slide shows the adopted incentive areas that are within the city. The most relevant one to this site is the Four Corners Overlay District, which is immediately adjacent to the site on the east side. That basically allows 30 dwelling units per acre. All of the workforce housing, this 20% requirement of that 30 dwelling units per acre, and then of that, it's all in the moderate level. Our site, in comparison, is our request is 24 dwelling units an acre. The workforce housing would still be equal to 20%, and then also it would be split between the low and the moderate income. So just a little bit of differential between the two, less density, breaking it up into 2 different categories. Access came up during the planning board discussion, or the planning and zoning board. Existing today since 1981 is an access easement that goes through the subject site, or goes to the subject site through the shopping center, and then you can see the ingress egress arrow. And then just for your reference is the proposed building that we have submitted for, but it's starting its way through the process. The proposal is we're going to be modifying that. We've been working with the shopping center owner. It has recently changed hands, but we are working with the shopping center owner to modify that easement to allow for access there on the left-hand side also, because it creates a nicer entry point. We are working through your Class 5 site plan approval process, but we began that process working through the site plan details. And as I said earlier, and Mr. Schuler can articulate, we are still continuing to negotiate with the property owner, but we do have legal access. And most importantly, and it's really important to note that there is a signal there, so this future community will access a signalized intersection at Atlantic Avenue. We have the traffic letter from Palm Beach County. We've met all the criteria of TPS with minimal impacts. We have a school board letter. The SCAD letter is on the screen in front of you. We've met with minimal impact. And so in front of you again this evening, it's a 4-part request for annexation, land use map amendment, rezoning, land development regulation, text amendment to allow up to 24 dwelling units per acre. So keeping it a little short tonight, thank you for having us. Go ahead, sir.
Sorry. One more thing, I couldn't not get the last word. I just wanted to, if you guys hadn't gotten your email from the Delray Alliance, but we met with them yesterday, showed them the plan. They asked for a 6-foot wall on behalf of that community that I just showed you that's in Palm Beach County. Our client agreed to give them that 6-foot wall, and they in turn have recommended support for this project. And again, we'd ask that you do the same.
Thank you. To the staff.
Okay, so there's 4 ordinances in front of you, and I will try to go quickly and not repeat. I think the annexation analysis provided by the applicant is fairly accurate. I do want to point out that we have the property on our future annexation map, and we have a recommended land use of MD. So all of that with this application is consistent. I do think that we do need to spend a little bit of time on the access and the configuration of this particular lot. So it's a 4.87 acre parcel. It is surrounded partially. Let's see if this is gonna work. Let's turn it on. We'll try that. Nope. Okay. I don't like this thing. I never have. So, okay, bear with me. All right. So the parcel is adjoins the county to the west. And then there's a canal between the properties that you see directly to the north, which are in the county. Then it moves back into the city on the just east of that. And then it is surrounded by a large parcel. This area is within the area that we call the Four Corners, which has some aspirations for redevelopment that have yet to occur. But I think it's important to note the direction that the city's, comp plan and LDRs intend for the intersection to move towards. So the current land use is Palm Beach County, and the zoning is a Palm Beach County ag zoning. So ultimately, if the decision is to annex the parcel in, then we do need to assign land use and zoning. So those are, the annexation is ordinance 3623, and then the land use, the rezoning, and then ultimately the LDR text amendment, which is an implementing text amendment for the zoning, which is part of why you're seeing it as part of this whole package and not through like a privately initiated sponsorship, which is the typical process. So again, when we look at our land use, the current land use map does have the anticipated land use when a property comes in. In this case, it is anticipated to be MD, which is considered to be sort of that compatible land use and zoning between the general commercial that is part of Four Corners, which has its own ability to do mixed use with density and intensity up to 30 units per acre with the workforce incentives there. And then the adjoining property is also a multifamily pattern as well. And so the zoning proposed is RM, which is the main preferred district for the MD zoning district. So both statutes and our LDRs basically say that voluntary annexation should be, eligible property should be annexed when the opportunity arrives. And that, we would then allow that new development to have the necessary public facilities needed. So it is contiguous. It does meet the state statutory requirements for allowing annexation. And again, in our comprehensive plan map, this area is recommended to come in at the 5 to 12 units per acre for MD. So there is a fiscal impact for analysis in the staff report. It, kind of anticipates what happens with the taxes if they stay the same. There's actually a single family house, I think, in there that it may be vacant now. And then ultimately, you have to make findings related to the land use map, the regular concurrency standards, consistency, and compliance with the LDRs. So again, the proposed zoning and the advisory zoning are compatible. The area is already served by water and sewer. I think that it's important when we look at traffic that under Palm Beach County's land use, if it was developed as it could be, it's 38 units per acre. That results in over 539 trips. It goes a little higher. If it moves into multifamily, the county does have its own way to provide additional units for workforce housing. Under the city's land use map, if it was to be developed under the multifamily that's proposed, it moves into 782 trips. So there will be more trips. However, it is co-located with commercial, and we do see sometimes over time that does help. I think we really cannot overlook the fact that the position of this site and the access that it has right now is substandard. And I mean, we've already dealt with other annexation issues with links, and so let's be really clear about the challenges that this site faces. It's landlocked. Our LDR comprehensive plan talks about like uses facing like uses. This is a parcel behind a plaza right now. And so it is driving past the back of house, including, the trash areas and things for the plaza. Our code anticipates Four Corners having the opportunity to redevelop as a mixed-use district with a much higher density than there's no residential on it now. So there's an opportunity for redevelopment to be more compatible, but what exists now is an access easement that is 25 feet wide, that is through the parking lot, that does not have sidewalk, does not have bicycle facilities, any of that to reach this parcel, which we're talking about residential development on, and then we're talking about increased residential development on for workforce. Now, all of these standards and concerns also apply to the site plan, and so I think the issue with this project moving forward is whether or not the site plan process can be rigorous enough to resolve any of the concerns we have for the redevelopment of this parcel, the details of the design, if they can be resolved through site plan or not, which is one of the criteria, that adequate LDR regulations exist, to troubleshoot any of the concerns. So again, you have multifamily surrounding the site. You have a large commercial retail plaza that has the ability to redevelop into mixed use over time, should that ever happen. And then you have this landlocked parcel in the back. So again, compliance with the LDRs. If really it comes down to whether or not the site plan process will be enough to sort of resolve the challenges for this parcel or not, specifically when it relates to the overlay that's going to provide for 24 units to the acre instead of 12. The other things that happen, though, are that you have residential next to job opportunity in the plaza, next to shopping opportunity in the plaza. That trip capture can happen there, but the design of the way that it links becomes really important. So just putting that on the record. In order to achieve the proposed increase in density under the LDR that is accompanying this, is there are all kinds of performance standards that would be required to be reviewed. So again, the lot itself does not have street frontage, which is required by the LDR. It relies instead, this is the access easement that actually connects West Atlantic through the property. It turns, and the access point is here. So through the site plan development process, there's a desire to modify the access, but to be clear, that requires this property to participate in that. So you really have to look at this to understand, number one, just for the record, there is access. It comes this way, and it may not be the access that the applicant wants right now, but there is access through this legal route. However, we are striving for multi-mobility, and it's, a route through the parking area, and it leaves a little bit to be desired for anybody walking or biking, and that has to be worked out. Now, whether we annex it or not, this same challenge exists. And annexing it doesn't make the challenge happen. We're already have this challenge. It has to be resolved, and either we can, resolve it through our process or not, but it's there, and it's real, and they're working very hard to resolve it, but it remains. So, should annexation occur as it's contiguous, it's a voluntary application, the land use is consistent with our recommended land use, you need to assign zoning, and obviously one of the criteria is why do you change zoning? Is there a new situation? Yes, there is. The annexation would require that we assign a zoning to it. So again, the same regulations that the applicant went over. So the overlay district itself is a tool that you have to adopt in order to unlock the next tier of density that is afforded by our comp plan. And we do this in order to encourage the development of workforce housing, mostly, I think. So in this case, the overlay would allow the density to move from 5 to 12 units to acre to up to 24. So you can see that that's how our comp plan shows MD, that the standard is 5 to 12, and that you move up to 12 to 24, but you have to purposely adopt where this is acceptable. So the proposal here is 24 units per acre, 20% of the total. It would be workforce housing, and it would provide both low and moderate income levels in an equal distribution. It does include the use of efficiencies, which in other districts is not permitted, but the Linton, I think, also allows them. So it's not unprecedented. And as Mr. Schiller presented, the planning board did request that a larger unit be in the mix and that an equal distribution be included. The ordinance before you has those changes in it. I don't need to tell you that one of the main focuses of the comprehensive plan is the need for workforce and affordable housing, and a variety of it as we grow. So the question is really with this site at 24 units per acre with 22% of the workforce units as efficiencies acceptable. Again, the one to two bedrooms in equal percentages, and then at least 1 3-bedroom unit in the mix as well. These are the price points just generally for low income and moderate AMI. It changes based on family size, but it would give you an idea of the income rental range. And affordable is these days is a pretty high number, even with income controlled affordability. So this is a necessary type of housing that we need. We do have all kinds of overlays and allowances throughout the city, and this does include the Four Corners, which here's this property here, so it's sort of abutting that. So your considerations before you are ultimately whether or not there's a valid reason to deny the annexation. It meets our LDRs and that it's contiguous, and the statute certainly opens the door. It will not create an enclave. The access issue does exist, whether or not it's located within the city or the county, and so that doesn't change that. MD is consistent with the comprehensive plan's anticipated land use, and it abuts the commercial plaza on one side and of course multifamily on the other two. Is the requested zoning a similar intensity as allowed under the county, or is it more appropriate based on the circumstances? And then regarding the text amendment, because ultimately you could approve the other three and not the text amendment, you have to either do all three or not all three though. So, and then with the text amendment, whether the proposed workforce housing instead of at this location is appropriate given the front back issues and access challenges, or is the site plan process the appropriate realm to sort of work out the details of the design and the links. And if you're confident that the site plan process and the LDR can do that, then we could move forward with all of the amendments. The project has been through the review process, well received by our partner agencies. It did receive a 6-0 recommendation of approval from the Planning and Zoning Board, and the Planning and Zoning Board's recommendations of the low income affordability category and the 3-bedroom unit have been agreed to by the applicant and are incorporated into the ordinance before you. So both Rebecca Dossery and I are here if you have any questions about the details of the proposal.
All right, great, because it's a public hearing, and also we have quasi-judicial element to the agenda item 8C. We're going to open it up to the public now. If there's anybody here that would like to speak to ordinance 36-23, 37-23, 38-23, or 39-23. Now would be the opportunity to step forward, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes. If you are going to speak, please make sure that you indicate that you have been sworn in. Okay. Public comment is closed. We're going to go back to the applicant. If there's any cross-exam, well, I guess it wouldn't be cross, but anyway, some rebuttal testimony.
And it's strictly on the rezoning.
Yeah, just on the rezoning.
Thank you so much. Just a quick rebuttal. The access issues raised, whether they impact the rezoning or not, will be, we plan on addressing it site plan. We have a whole application that's working its way through the system. We have TAC comments that we have to respond back to as far as that access easement. So I just wanted to let this board know that that will be addressed as part of our site plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Any rebuttal testimony from the staff?
No, not at this time.
Okay, very good. So to the commission. I'm gonna say something, and I know I'm probably not gonna get in trouble, but we find ourselves in these situations often. This is a situation where we're looking at a landlocked parcel that does have access, but is not, as our LDRs require, to be along a road, access from a road, and that it is set back. I am concerned about, I understand that can go through the process of the SPRAD board process, or the planning and zoning process when we get to that point. But my concern actually also rests with the giving of 24 units per acre with the workforce housing element. I don't know that we even know what we have in workforce housing, or if there's anybody really following through with workforce housing. And if workforce housing is truly what we're looking for in our city, it's more affordable housing that we need versus workforce housing from my perspective. And this doesn't rise to the level for me. And I am questioning whether or not do I believe that we will go through this process and everything will be ironed out in the future. I look to some of the experiences that I've had sitting here with that expectation not meeting with my expectation as it goes through the process. And I can tell you that experience says to me, no, it's not going to be able to satisfy my concerns whether or not we're going to meet with, that it's going to be able to get through that process and resolve all the issues. So for me, I am not going to approve this, and for those reasons. And also, I think that what we need to do is, and this is a separate subject, but we do need to probably look at our affordable housing versus our workforce housing, and understand how does that workforce housing is it really being followed through as it should be? I don't know that it is, and so therefore adding housing in a workforce stance versus an affordable stance. Affordable is different, but workforce housing, I think that we're borderline. And I'm looking at those figures up there. It's pretty high. It's very, very high for me. That's just how I see it. And so to give so much and not get back what I would hope that we could, it's just it's a no for me at this point in time. Not to say that that shouldn't be happening, but with regards to the annexation and whatnot. But I think there's more work to be done here from my perspective. So anyway, to the commission. Anybody? Yes, Vice Mayor.
So I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Anthea, we don't get to choose the level that we want to get back. We have a program, it's 20%, it's workforce housing. If we wanted to look at that, we'd have to look at it holistically, correct?
Well, this text amendment is adopting the rules specifically for this. So the rules specifically for this parcel are what is in front of you with the last ordinance, and that's where it's focused on an equal to 20% of the total, not of an increase, which some of the districts do it that way. 20% of the total equally divided between the low and the moderate income. Low meaning by our LDRs 61 to 80% of area median income, moderate being 81 to 120 AMI, which is a lower threshold than the county has. Because remember, they went to 140 and this board held it at 120.
Yep.
And then this is the rental range that happens based on family size within those limitations. So obviously the 3-bedroom unit, they're allowed to charge higher rent. When a project like this comes through, there's a deed restriction. The people who rent there are income qualified through our neighborhood and community services. It is implemented, and it is tracked. So we'll do an accounting and we can show you where it's come online.
Yeah, I'm very
We're working
familiar.
on it.
I'm very familiar with it. So I know specifically Furleen.
The rules for this one are proposed to be 20% of these 2 income categories.
Yeah.
You could say that it has to be all 3, although to be fair, the low income range below 60% AMI is you're moving into a tax credit housing authority where you're building at a loss, to be fair, based on construction. So whether it's 20% or 25% or all low and no moderate, this is the rules that would govern this particular parcel. So this is what is proposed, and you could ask for changes, which is what planning board did.
Right. But I think you explained why.
Hold up.
So did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I think that.
No, I mean, this is board discussion, so if there's a question, somebody will ask.
Yeah, and I just wanted to state that I don't have the same concerns that the mayor has. Yes, we need all levels of housing. This is the tool we usually utilize for workforce housing for the reasons Anthea just explained. This doesn't require any taxpayer dollars. We have other tools for affordable housing. We need both. We need affordable housing, we need workforce housing, we need market. So I don't share the concerns. This is actually the tool that we utilize, so we don't have to utilize taxpayer dollars, and we can add to the workforce housing inventory. I am confident that the projects do have the workforce housing to 20%. I've sat with Furleen and gone through their process of making sure that these projects have the 20%, that they're kept there, that they check back up with them, make sure their rates are staying in place. So I don't have a concern with that. I do have concerns in regards to the site map. That's for another day, and we'll want to see staff's concerns addressed on that. But as far as the annexation aspect of the conversation, I'm comfortable moving forward.
And under the new chapter 2, just to be clear, the process that we made, this will go to planning board for all of it when it's ready, when the access and other things are resolved. The plan as a whole, especially for the neighbors, will go to planning board for the density increase above the 12 for a recommendation for a final action by the city commission. So it will come back to you in its final form for the formal approval of the density.
Great. Thank you.
No, my concern was the number of, the percentage of affordable housing, but I
It's not affordable,
understand-
it's workforce.
Workforce, yes. So the question was answered, so I'm okay.
Commissioner Frankel?
Thank you. Anthea, first, you look great in that Buckeye red jacket.
Oh my gosh. Sorry.
Oh. well, sorry to you. You went to
Oh,
Florida State.
I know. Even more sorry to me.
I agree.
We're digressing.
The one and I'm glad it's going to be addressed at a later time. But the landlocked thing, because I spoke to the city attorney earlier today, and we discussed that part of it and how it's going to be addressed at another time. But in the time since we spoke, I can think of 2 communities east of 95 that complain about cars driving in their neighborhood, and they'd rather be landlocked. So I thought it was kind of interesting that that discussion was made here. But I'm going to be in support of this. Thanks.
Deputy Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I agree with the Vice Mayor's comments. To me, it's not workforce versus affordable housing. We need both. Our first responders and teachers and service industry workers need housing too. And as far as the entryway and the landlocked situation, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And so at this point, I'll be in support. Thank you.
All right, very good. And there's a couple other things I failed to mention. I just want to mention because it's something that also was I'd written down here. Safety measures concerning as well as the impact on that section of Atlantic Avenue. It is, I live out there, it's very, very heavy traffic already. To just add to it, we're going to see some major probably backups as a result of that light turning red for the flowing through of traffic on Atlantic Avenue more often, because we're going to be exiting out, more traffic is going to be exiting out of it. So those are things I'm sure that was taken into consideration, but seems like a lot of that gets taken into consideration until it's actually working on the road. we don't hear from people, but then we do. So I think that we have consensus up here, so I'll entertain motions to approve each one separately, each ordinance.
Motion to approve 36-23.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
No.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Motion to approve ordinance 37-23.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
No.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Motion to approve.
Wait, you have to say
no.
yes.
Yes
Yes,
or no?
sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Motion to approve ordinance 38-23.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
No.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
And finally,
Motion to approve ordinance number 39-23.
Second.
call the roll, please.
Mayor Petrolia?
No.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
All right, very good. Moving on, ordinance 46-23.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Delray Beach, Chapter 50, Utilities Generally, Public Service Tax, subheading General Provisions by creating a new section 50.04, Review and Adjustment of User Charges, to establish provisions for administrative adjustments to water charges due to leaks, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, authority to codify, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. And this is second reading.
All right. Mr. Dunkley, do you have a presentation?
Just a brief one.
All right.
Mayor, good evening, Mayor, members of the City Commission. This evening I have with me Ms. Sandra Guerrero. She's the Utility Billing Financial Manager, and essentially Ms. Guerrero's presence is here in case we get a bit into the weeds. Most public utilities, as you might have heard, they provide a credit adjustment due to leaks occurring on the customer's side of the water meter, which was typically not caused by any of their omission or acts. The city's Code of Ordinance currently does not specifically address this matter. The item before you this evening is recommending a revision to the pertinent section of the city code to allow specifically for a leak adjustment. What staff did was we polled the other neighboring communities, and we found that an overwhelming majority of the communities either gave a credit which extended once every 2 or 3 years. The bulk of the communities' credit extended only once over a 3-year period. So what we did was our recommendation took that into consideration. In terms of the number of billing cycles, we're recommending that the adjustment will flow over 2 billing cycles, which essentially means that if, for instance, a customer receives their bill in the middle of a month, this will enable them to have another billing period within which they can see if there was significant increase in their usage. And with that said, we are here to entertain any questions that you might have.
What is our current policy with respect to this? Or do we have one?
We don't.
Okay,
We do
so
not.
it's just kind of an ad hoc, somebody comes in, they got a leak, we basically give the credit or not, and then move on.
Precisely.
Okay.
It's ad hoc.
So we're trying to
formalize it.
Yeah, to formalize the policy. All right. Anything else for the commission, from the commission?
No, I think this is a great idea.
Yeah, I think you basically have followed through with what most are doing, and it gives people the opportunity of being able to get something fixed and not be nailed with a huge water bill that they're not obviously using. It's going into the ground. So yeah, it makes sense.
Okay.
All right, so entertain a motion.
Motion to approve ordinance
Oh, I'm sorry, wait,
Public
hold up.
comment.
It is a public hearing, so if there's anybody that would like to speak to ordinance 46-23, please step forward. No. Seeing no one, public comment is closed. We'll entertain the motion now, sorry.
Motion to approve ordinance 46-23.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, sir. All right. 8F is ordinance number 48-23.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 32, Departments, Boards, and Commissions by amending Section 32.62, Composition Appointment Terms, to reduce the number of Police Advisory Board members from 13 regular members to 5, by amending Section 32.65, Duties and Responsibilities, to update the duties and responsibilities of the Police Advisory Board, providing a savings clause, general repealer clause, and an effective date. This is the ordinance that staff asked to bring forward to you. It'll reduce, obviously, the number of board members from 13 to 5, and it just really amends the mission and the purpose of the board to be something more meaningful. This is second reading.
Very good. All right, it's a public hearing. If there's anybody here that would like to speak to ordinance number 48-23, now would be the opportunity. Seeing no one, public comment is closed. To the commission, entertain a motion.
The only question I had
Yes.
was how quickly will this be on agenda to be reappointed?
Next week.
Next week, right away. Okay, great. That's it.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
And moving on to ordinance number 49-23.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, repealing Chapter 32, Departments, Boards, and Commissions, Sections 3240 to 3244, Kids and Cops Committee, providing that each and every other section and subsection of Chapter 32 shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date and further purposes. This committee should really be administrative. Without a quorum, they can never meet and nothing gets done. So this is second reading.
Great.
Again, it's a public hearing, so if anybody would like to speak to ordinance number, is it 49?
49-23.
Please step forward. Seeing no one, public comment is closed. Moving on to entertaining a motion.
Motion to approve ordinance number 49-23.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor
Yes.
Petrolia? Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
All right, and 8H, ordinance number 51-23.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, providing for charter revisions by repealing Section 3.14, Planning and Zoning Board and Board of Adjustment, subsection B, Board of Adjustment, providing for a referendum on March 19, 2024, providing a general repealer clause, providing a savings clause, and providing an effective date and further purposes. This one is also second reading. This is consistent with the Chapter 2 changes. All the duties of the Board of Adjustment would be transferred to the Planning and Zoning Board if the referendum is approved. This is only to get it on the ballot in the March election.
Okay, and this is also a public hearing, so if there's anybody that would like to speak to ordinance number 51-23, please step forward. Seeing no one, public comment is closed. To the commission, seeing no comments, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve ordinance number 51-23.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
All right, we are at no first reading, so we're at the comments and inquiries of non-agenda item. Mr. Moore, anything?
Not at this time, thank you.
All right, very good. City Attorney, you have an item.
I do.
10B1.
I did ask that the agenda be amended last evening in order to allow us to have a discussion concerning the American Legion counteroffer that was made. Just by way of background, and I just want to give you a very quick update as to what happened since last night. As you know, this is a pending lawsuit that was filed by the American Legion. It was filed back in 2021. There were a series of procedural issues that resulted in the case going to the 4th DCA. The city prevailed, and then it came back to us. In March, the city has always made a consistent offer, but in March, with this new commission, we did convene in a shade meeting. We've made the same offer throughout this time, but a formal offer was made on November 21st, 2023. The offer was essentially providing a 99-year lease, consistent with the lease that was provided years ago. As part of the settlement, the Legion would be responsible for renovations, maintenance, and upkeep of the building and the parking lot next to it. The City Commission extended the ability to partner with any other nonprofits in order to fund those renovations and to make good use of the building, providing community benefits in the city. And then there were some timelines and deadlines. So essentially within 30 days of acceptance of the offer, there would have to be some sort of a funding plan that was disclosed to the city with any partnerships that were going to be entered into. Within 75 days, there would be a renovations plan that would be submitted to the city to disclose what the renovations and the extent of those would be to the city. And then 5 years after a certificate of occupancy was issued, the city would consider deeding the entire property to the Legion, obviously going through the processes that we have to with a public hearing and all those other things provided for in the Code of Ordinances. 30 days after acceptance of an offer, a settlement agreement would be executed, and then 7 days after the execution of the settlement agreement, a notice of voluntary dismissal would be filed with the court to formally close out the case. So that offer was made on November 21st. 9 days later, a counteroffer was made, and essentially the Legion did agree to the sum and substance of the offer made by the city. The real issues were mostly with the timelines, the 30 days for funding and the 75 days with the renovations, mostly because they wanted to be able to see the building in order to formalize that, and they wanted additional time. There was one significant inclusion or condition in their offer, which is why I asked for this meeting today, and it included a provision for attorney's fees. And so our offer was essentially everybody bears their own attorney's fees and we walk away. And so their attorney put a provision in there that attorney's fees would be agreed upon, and if they were not agreed upon, then we would go to the court and the court would make a final decision of the attorney's fees. Just right before this meeting today, I received an email from our outside counsel that a motion for leave to amend the complaint was filed with the court. The Cliff Notes version is essentially once a complaint is filed and an answer is filed with the court, if somebody wants to make changes to their complaint, and the court will always entertain changes almost until the day of trial, pretty much. Commissioner Frankel is nodding. And so, but you have to seek leave to amend. And so the complaint, and we didn't really have a lot of time to digest it due to the timing of it, but essentially the complaint is really the same counts. One of the counts, and just for the record, the counts are inverse condemnation, injunctive relief, trespass, conversion, and there's a breach of contract count. The fourth DCA actually said that the breach of contract count couldn't stand because there was nothing to support it, to substantiate it, but they have revived that count, and obviously it would be up to the court to decide which of those counts would remain and if they're properly pled. So that was filed just before this meeting today. I did send it to everybody in your emails. I'm sure you did not have time to read all 67 pages of it. I can briefly touch upon it if you need me to. But typically when you're in negotiations and somebody files amendments to pleadings, that kind of should give you somewhat of an indication as to where the case stands. But, obviously we do what we're directed to do by consensus of the commission. So that's where we stand today. We do have the EJS proposal that is pending before the commission that is scheduled for December 12th, which is next week. And the offer that the city made was to have expired at 5 o'clock today. So they did not accept the offer as written. They did make a counter offer. So for today's purposes, you can accept the counter offer, you can make another counter offer, or you can just reject all the offers and direct me to either move forward with the litigation or whatever else the commission's pleasure is. So I just wanted direction because of the timing of things. And as you know, December 12th is our last meeting of the year.
Yeah.
And then, so.
All right, so to the commission, you want to start, Deputy Vice Mayor?
If you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I'd like to clear the air about a few things. There's a lot of misconceptions that have been going around about this entire process, and a lot of it will be reiterating what Ms. Jelen so eloquently explained. But for those very passionate individuals who, some of whom stood at this mic and said things to the effect of this city was the Jim Crow South, and that we lacked humanity, and we would never do the right thing, and made broad accusations that we don't support veterans. Let's review what has gone down since the last meeting. After the last meeting, we sent a settlement offer to the American Legion Post 188 that, if accepted, would have extended them a 99-year lease agreement of the 196 Northwest 8th Avenue property with a provision that the city would transfer the title to them after 5 years, so long as the necessary renovations were completed. That's the best we could do legally. It seemed to cover everything everyone was asking for. What do we get back from the American Legion's attorney, Mr. Brown, as a counteroffer? He wants the city to pay his attorney's fees, of which he hasn't even provided an estimate. Essentially, he's asking us to agree to a blank check funded by taxpayer dollars for him, not the American Legion. By the way, the amount that Mr. Brown is asking for or intending to ask for is irrelevant to me personally, because I wouldn't agree to a dime at this point, just to make that clear. So let's review this one more time. The commission unanimously decided to send the American Legion a settlement offer that would give them essentially everything they asked for, that the community has been asking for, with the bare minimum legal requirements. And what we got back was an attempted shakedown from their attorney. What I want to say to our community members who have repeatedly told us to do the right thing, maybe save that lecture for Mr. Brown. In my opinion, he derailed this resolution from happening tonight. We tried. We said we would. We made a good faith, extremely diplomatic offer, but that offer expired at 5 o'clock. So I move that we instruct staff to begin negotiations with EJS and put the resolution affirming that on consent for next week. And I'd like to stipulate as part of those negotiations that the American Legion Post 188 is offered a subleasing agreement. That's all I got.
You made a motion?
Yes.
Do we have a second? For discussion, anyway?
Second for discussion, but isn't it on the agenda for next week?
Well,
It's on the regular agenda for next week.
but we can do whatever, we can do.
I'll move to consent.
Oh, okay.
Can I ask a question from the attorney? What were our choices? So essentially, American Legion did not accept the offer.
No.
They made a counter offer, yes. And the counter offer included, they wanted to extend the deadlines, and the last one was essentially to pay their attorney's fees. We did reach out to try to ascertain what those attorney's fees would look like. We don't have a response yet. And, from a legal liability perspective, it's never a great idea to settle a case with something like attorney's fees unresolved. And so if you can't resolve them, then, it would go to the court. And really what the court is going to do is look at invoices and come up with what the court thinks is reasonable. And we don't know what that's going to look like because we don't have any, nothing was attached to that settlement agreement to give you any type of a ballpark as to what those fees would be.
And what was filed today?
It's called a motion to amend complaint. So essentially, they want to go before the court and change the claims against the city to try to, I guess, conform with what the 4th DCA said as far as a breach of contract claim. Because right now, there is no breach of contract claim. The court essentially said they need to provide proof of, any type of a contract in order to assert a claim of a breach of that contract. And so that's what they've, and again, because of the lateness where it was filed, me and our outside counsel, we haven't had an opportunity to fully digest what the claims are. But essentially, it's the same claims they've always had, reviving a claim that the 4th DCA said that they never proved at the onset.
And these are the desires of the American Legion?
As an attorney, when we have our shade meetings and I get direction from you, you're the client, right? You're collectively the client. So you should not be filing pleadings that your client does not support and agree to.
So she would have to say yes.
And then you gave us 3 choices. What were those again?
So you can make another offer, counter their counter. You can reject their counter offer.
Can't we also negotiate with have you guys negotiate with the persons that are basically had put forward the unsolicited?
Well, that's separate and apart.
Okay.
So I would consider those two separate things that you can do. But
we
typically,
could do that. We could also do that tonight.
You can't. I mean, we had a public meeting about it last week. What I would do for next week is I would memorialize whatever the direction is in a resolution and put that on a consent agenda if that's what the direction is today.
Great.
I've got something to add.
Sure, absolutely.
And it's very hard to follow that speech, and I'm in agreement, but this is just my takeaway, that if you're in settlement negotiations, and this is just me. It seems odd to me the other side would start filing new pleadings when you're trying to settle the matter. Now, it could be generally or speculatively to increase attorneys' fees that they're seeking, maybe, but that's not good faith. And I'm in full agreement of what you said, Mr. Long. It's a shame that this is being used in the community, in the entire city for that matter, in the way it is. So I will be standing in full agreement with you, Mr. Long.
Vice Mayor?
So I've had a long conversation with Ms. Challen about this and received even additional information because I did not see that email come through late. While I do agree with some of the comments that were made by Deputy Vice Mayor Long, we're scheduled to have this conversation next week in regards to the EJS portion, so I wouldn't be in favor of moving forward on anything tonight with it scheduled next week to make that decision. And I think as far as our settlement offer, it was decided for us. And we put together an offer that, yes, we've been communicating since day one, which is we want to give you the 99-year lease back, just do the bare minimum of what's needed to do that. But we decided to add the icing on that and say, you know what? We're also going to deed the land over to you within a reasonable time. And I'll say it, we discussed it. What is it? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? We decided, you know what? We're going to go with 5 years, right? That's enough time to get the building running, show community benefits, up and running, and then we'll deed the whole thing over. It's yours, right? I mean, and they weren't even asking for that, and we just added that, you know. So I think we've got our answer on that side, and next week we'll discuss. But I don't feel it's necessary to jump ahead tonight.
Well, I did make a motion on the second.
Yes.
So I prefer to call the vote and see where we stand.
The motion was again for...
Can someone repeat the motion?
Sure, thank you.
Absolutely. I move that we instruct staff to begin negotiations with EJS, put the resolution affirming that on consent for next week, and I'd like to stipulate as part of those negotiations that the American Legion Post 188 is offered a subleasing agreement.
Okay. And we had a second. Yes, and so we are open for, well, call for the vote. And, you know, I didn't get a chance to say something, so let me just say also, I support you. I agree with what you've said. This has been a long, long process. We have been trying to get to a resolution. Every time we bring something to the table and try to get a resolution, it seems like it's not being accepted. I'm at the end of my rope. I was last week, or whenever it was we met last, but I was willing to give that extra time to see where it got. And when somebody files against you, as you're trying to negotiate, that speaks volumes to me. And so I'm ready to support your effort. So let's call for the vote.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
No.
Ms. Burns?
No.
Okay. Anything else?
May I address this issue,
No.
please?
No, sorry, you cannot.
As a member of the public?
You cannot. No, this is our discussion now.
No, but you finished your discussion.
No,
so
we're
I don't have
continuing to discuss. No,
Okay.
you're out of line, and no.
Thank
you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I have nothing further.
You have anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay, so to the commission, let's start with the Deputy Vice Mayor. You've said a lot tonight.
I
So.
spoke plenty. I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner?
Quick things.
Yes, I
One-
hope you're going to make your announcement.
Good things.
Yes, good.
Tomorrow, 11:30, we have the ribbon cutting for Hatcher
Yes.
Development, 20-26 Northwest 6th Avenue, 11:30. Light bites will be served. That's number one. Number two, Thursday night
Yes.
is the 15th annual Menorah Lighted. Hopefully, all of you can attend. 6 to 8 o'clock at Old School Square. And third, on Saturday, you know, Mr. Moore, I appreciate you throwing a parade on my birthday. You didn't have to.
December 9th, that's correct.
Sitting next to Coco?
I want to sit next to Miss Odom. That'll be a birthday present for me.
There you
So
go.
be it.
We'll see you at the parade.
December
All right,
9th it
sounds
is.
good. All right, very good. Commissioner Burns?
Yes, I received a request for a couple of proclamations, and I wanted to get consensus from my colleagues here. One of our community icons and elders will be turning 95, Ms. Janice Hill, on December 8th, and the community, her family and the community is giving her a birthday bash, and heard family requested a proclamation, and we
Okay.
didn't get a response on that.
So we usually don't do proclamations on birthdays, but what we do is we do certificates, and because we normally, I think, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, Lynn, we just did one, and it's not necessarily a proclamation, it's something else, I can't remember
It's a
what.
recognition.
Recognition.
Okay.
So can we do that?
I'm sure the family would be.
Okay, great,
Yes.
great.
And then there was a second one
And
from.
wait, let's get
Yes.
consensus. All right, we got a consensus. Go ahead.
Okay, and then there was a second one from the Omega Psi Fraternity Incorporated, the Lambda Alpha chapter. They are doing community work, painting and landscaping of houses in Delray and Boynton, and they have adopted, or 20 years now, adopted a street Northwest 10th Avenue to Lake Ida Road, and they've been cleaning that every third Saturday of the month for the last 20 years. They requested a proclamation as well.
Again, I think it's more appropriate for this. Yep.
Okay.
If that's okay. And
Okay.
are we okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank
All right,
you.
recognition.
Great.
Very
All
good.
right, thank you.
Vice Mayor.
I was just curious. I think we are working on an update about the Live Local Act, correct? Is Anthony and her team working on a presentation to us on kind of how it affects us and what areas would be impacted? Well, I thought that was, and that's why I'm asking. I thought a few months ago we had talked about that.
If I may, sir, there was a discussion about that, so the direction is to come back with an update in terms of the impacts to Delray Beach. I'll be providing a summary in the next week or so as to how that works as part of my weekly report, and we anticipate an update in the early part of the new year.
Okay, I think it's important for us to take a look at that and get ahead of it, especially as it looks like there are going to be some changes made to it. And I think when we go up to Tallahassee, if there are any changes that we want made, we should probably voice those concerns and those changes that we want to see made, because it does look like it's going to be revised.
Yes, sir. Another update that will be provided is in relationship to state legislative priorities. We anticipate in January having Matt to join us for a presentation to that effect, and that does touch that subject. So I look forward to offering guidance and direction in both regards.
And on that note, I just think it's important, we're reminded every year by our lobbyists, don't just go up and ask for money, that's great, but also identify the
Absolutely,
things,
policies
and not only things you're against, but go up there and root for the things that you're for. And I know that there's going to be a lot of cities that are going to be putting their comments forward in regards to this specific topic, and we should probably jump on that. But that's it. I look forward to continuing to see everybody at all the holiday events.
And they have been going
And they're
on
every night.
Okay, so let's go back to a comment at the very beginning of the meeting, the Purple Heart Proclamation. I do not know a lot about this, but what I'd like to do is to get consensus to have the city move forward in just finding out a little bit more about it and whether or not we want to do it, and let them bring it back to us. Okay, we got approval of that consensus. There's also in your email you're going to receive. I guess it was Kateri that sent it to us. This has to do with the Form 6. All the questions that you have with respect to that, we've got questions as to whether or not we even have to fill them out. Still in question. So this is tomorrow at 11 a.m. and you're going to have to sign up for that free webinar. So make sure when you go home tonight you do that so that you can get your questions answered. Third thing I wanted to say, well, we already talked about the menorah lighting on Thursday, 6 p.m. I unfortunately have a conflict, so you'll be in my place, but I appreciate it, and also that we're having the parade, and of course Coco is our honorary rider, I guess it's called Grand Marshal, correct, in a parade. So she's going to be leading us off. We're very excited about that. So I hope everybody come one, come all. And then finally, I just have to give the biggest shout out to the city, Parks and Rec, everybody that was involved in the tree lighting ceremony. I mean, I think this was the best year that we've had to date. I have had, it was across the board, reaching to every age group. If you walked around, there were all sorts of bands, all different spectrums, whether you liked country or you liked soloists or you liked guitar, or a band, we had it all. And then from the youngest of kids, I saw the stroller pack that was right in front of the real little kids section, and everybody was having a great time. So this was probably, I think, by far one of the best that we've ever had, and we handled record crowds. And to the police, and the fire that you guys are out there in full force. Everybody that I spoke with said, it's amazing how safe I feel in this incredible large crowd. So thank you all for everything that you did for our city. And anybody that was involved, Mr. Orris, I know you were firsthand in that as well. I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, this was really one of the best years. And there's nothing that makes me, and I'm sure my colleagues, feel better, especially me, going out on a high. And that's exactly how I felt at that. I just felt like I cannot believe that this is our town and we've risen to this level. So you all deserve the biggest credit, the most credit, and the biggest gratitude from those of us and our everybody that visited, because you made it not only safe but fun. Thank you guys. And that's it. Happy holidays. We'll see you next week.